Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I am glad everyone is here. First thing I want to do, as always, is just thank all the channel members. Thank you guys so much for your support. And I want to thank anybody who takes the time to come through, check out my knife, my EDC content. I really appreciate it. If you happen to be so inclined and you like the content, if you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon, it'll really help me out. Today, as I've been telling you guys, I've been going through my collection and trying to classify my knives in ways that I can wrap my head around, right? I've done medium knives, large knives, Wharncliffes, a couple of others, fixed blades. Haven't done slip joints yet, but today I was going to go, and the way I've been looking at my collection is drop point slash clip points, which could even include spear type points, right? So the way I classify these knives is knives that have, you know, either a clip point or drop pointy blade, and what I think about them, how I like them, what kind of part they play in my collection, and you know, just kind of point out my top 10, my top 10 favorite ones. And they are primarily going to be a little bit on the higher end just because I'm going through picking the ones I love. But number 10, and again, these are in no real order. I could switch these around, but the Growler V2 from DVO Knives is an absolute fantastic valued knife. It's a kind of a droppy clip point. You can tell mine's kind of been used. I got the satin blade, but I use this knife a lot. I love this knife. I love the point. I love the tip. I love the sleek feel of it. I love the materials. It is absolutely slicey as it can be. And it comes in after a Javon 10 or another creator discount at White Mountain Knives. It was right around, I want to say, 99 bucks, 100 bucks. So coming in at number 10 of my favorite drop point slash clip points, I've got to give kudos to the DVO Growler V2. Moving on, we come to a absolutely fantastic knife that surprised me in a big way, and this is the Birdblade Sweeny, manufactured, OEM'd by REACT. It is a front flipper knife. As you guys know, I hate front flippers, but it does have the blade hole, which allows you to thumb flick it or middle finger flick it with ease. It is what I'd call a full-size knife, about the same size as my Para 2. And again, I'm not going to waste your time with a bunch of size comparisons. A little bit smaller than the Para 2. But in either case, I consider it a full-size knife. Very, very slicey, very pokey. Kind of what I consider a functional gentleman's folder because it is slim, it is narrow, it is very practical, and I love it. I think it's just a fantastic specimen. The Birdblade Sweeny could easily be higher on the list, but again, we're just going through numbers, and we're going to call this one, for lack of a better term, number 9. So number 8 is my second Brian Brown knife that I brought into my collection. And I did pick it out for the color because the color was on sale. It was like $100 off at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. This is the Brian Brown Raptor. This is a sweet little drop point, narrow handle, great jimping, great ergonomics, hollow ground, on bearings, frame lock. Again, with the drop point, basically cut anything you might need to cut, right? It's a smaller knife. When I say smaller, it's not a medium-sized knife. I would say it's full-on medium, but it fits my hand like a glove. I love Brian Brown's designs. I could not pass up this knife, and it has rapidly become one of my top drop points, and that is the Brian Brown Raptor, coming in at, I think we said number 8, right? Which brings us to number 7. Number 7 is the only EMP on this list, and this is the Relative. This is one I held out on. Again, I had been so used to the rear flipper, even though I don't use it, I didn't really understand why it was left off the Relative. I went to Blade Show and started to experience this knife in terms of handling it. The detent, guys, is absolutely insane. The choil, this forward choil with this full blade jimping is fabulous. You've got this compound grind with this hollow in the flat, and then you've got a little broader tip. Even though it's not a Tonto, it's kind of really 2 grinds you're working with there. This knife, this particular specimen, is an LMAX and titanium. It is delightful to carry. It is delightful to cut with. It is delightful to fidget with. And it is absolutely one of my favorite drop points. I guess we'd call this one probably a clip point, but you know what I mean. So that's going to put us at number 10, 9, 8. Number 7 is our EMP EDC, the Relative, which brings us to number 6. Number 6 you saw on my larger knives breakdown, because this knife is an absolute baller. This is the WEA Ferris. The WEA Ferris is a very refined clip point blade, full size, medium sized knife, 20 CV blade steel, cuts without sound, is absolutely hits that therapeutic cutter, even though I'm butchering the paper, not holding it right. And again, I promise, guys, if you watch long enough, we're going to get to see me whack a finger. But this is just it was a huge surprise. I bought it after watching Brother Jared Neve's review. He didn't have to say much because I could hear the detent. And that's one of my buying buttons. I don't know why. I know it doesn't make a knife work better. I love a snappy detent. And guys, the WEA Ferris is a snappy beast. I love this knife. It is definitely one of my top 10 clip point drop points. And I think we said this was coming in at number 6, which brings us to number 5. Number 5 is another knife that I had no idea, or was not, let's put it this way, I was not even looking for this knife. This knife was not on my radar. A brother who will remain nameless, a friend of mine from the community, reached out to me on Instagram and told me he had an extra one. He bought 2, wasn't sure which colorway he was going to keep, and he was going to let the other one, which was this one, go, and wanted to know if I was interested in it. I'd never looked at the knife before, guys. We had a conversation on Instagram, and he said, John, I would not tell you anything that I don't feel is, in my opinion, true, and this knife is blown me away. So on that advice or opinion, I took a chance. I picked it up, got a really fair deal on it. I want to say this is my CARARTA with titanium, and you've got this micro milling, a little bit stronger milling here. This particular knife is CPM 20 CV. It has got the best, smoothest action that is just crispy, and I just love the knife. I mean, it's literally become one of my favorites, probably my favorite, if not second favorite, quiet carry. And it is, again, just a therapeutic slicer. It's so thin. It's a tall, flat ground blade, done beautifully. Has a deep carry clip that's done exceptionally well. This one's riding on skis. Came apart and went back together like a dream. It thumb flicks, great. It reverse flicks, great. And it's just a fantastic knife. So coming in at number 5 is our Quiet Carry 9, and it is a banger. Which brings us to number 4. Number 4 is, and could be, as any of these could, much higher rated. This is the LEONG Field Duty Folder. It is a front flipper, which I did that just to humor you guys. You know, I hate front flippers. I don't even do it well. But the reason I stress that is this knife was kind of met with a little, you know, underwhelming. And so LEONG worked with, from my understanding, Riot, had some changes made. I experienced this knife for the first time at Blade Show 2023. And when I started handling it, playing with it, trying to get it to fly out, I couldn't. And then when I went to front flip it, I realized it had a stiffer detent, which results in an absolutely banging flipper. As you guys know, or if you don't, I'll tell you now, the Field Duty EDC is one of my all-time favorites. This is a larger version, and this is a liner lock as opposed to a frame lock. It is in S90V, and this cross-cut carbon fiber, which is stunning. I love the knife. The only minimum, if I had one nitpick, or one little thing that I could change on this knife, and I'm not a knife designer, so I don't know how it would look. I wish the deployment hole was not as large. And the only reason I say that is because my finger can get and stuck through that hole. Even though you'll notice that flew out even with my finger stuck through it because the detent's so dialed. But I like a hole that's a little bit narrower, right? But I cannot take away from the gorgeous beauty and functionality that is this fantastic LEONG Field Duty Folder, 3.5-inch liner lock, OEM by Riot, and just an absolute banger. Moving on, guys, we come to number 3. Number 3 could be number 1, number 4 could be number 1, number 5 could be number 1. It's subjective, right? This is the Kwo Padre. One of the most impressive knives I've ever purchased. I've had several Kwos. I've got, I think, 4 total. I love them all. I'm not a huge fan in the bar lock. I think they do frame lock so well. The detent is so freaking snappy on this knife. Probably one of the best detents that I have. I love the diamond pattern. I love the stonewash blade. I love the front flipper, even though I hate front flipping. It's set up to where that angle is, you can't miss it. But most importantly, the middle finger flick is cash money. You've got a fuller that you can flick off of. You've got a perfectly shaped hole that all you have to do is instinctively reach up there. You can thumb flick it if that's your deal. It's not mine. But the Kwo Padre in Vanex is as good as it gets. Came in at number 3 for me, but could be much higher, and I could recommend this knife to anyone. I could any of these knives, but this knife is special. Fits my hand like a dream, cuts like a dream, and the action is next level. So moving on, we come to number 2. And guys, this was a tough one. That is my number 1, or has been my number 1 knife for over 2 years. And it still could be my favorite knife in terms of a knife that just I love. This is the LEONG Field Duty EDC. It's really the smaller variation of the Field Duty folder. but it's done with a liner lock. This is a frame lock, but that just shows you the size difference. So size-wise, it's perfect for my hand. The choil fits perfectly. The action is amazing. The sound is pleasing. I picked the G10. It's a monoblock construction, which means that this G10 show side and backspacer, if you want to call it that, it's basically one piece of G10 that's been milled out, and then you've got the titanium clip side. This particular model, if I'm not mistaken, is an LMAX. Yeah, this is LMAX. It is the Field Duty EDC. It is as slicey as you'd want, as pokey as you'd want, and it has always been my #1 knife. And as I sit here flipping it, looking at what I've chosen for #1 in drop points, it's just because it's new and it's a grail, right? I love it. This knife was a grail, the first really nice, expensive knife I bought, and it'll never leave my collection. That's the LEONG Field Duty EDC. It is #2, which brings us to, there can only be one #1, right? And I know this is no surprise because I had been wanting a EVO 2.0 or 3.0, an EVO for a very long time. I've always thought it was one of the sexiest knives I had ever seen. It is stunning. It has amazing action. It is further personalized by Brother Bill Pro X, who did these beautiful Arctic carbon fiber scales on this knife. This is a collaboration between Custom Knife Factory and Rotten Designs. It is just next level. I love the way it feels in the hand. I love the way that it cuts. I love the way that it looks, and it is just that good. It is my sexiest #1 favorite knife in my drop point clip points. And this is a weirder clip point, but I still put it in that category, right? So guys, that is what we are looking at. These are my subjective top 10s of a category that I don't even know if it exists, clip point, drop points, but I didn't know how else to kind of go through and classify a lot of these knives. So I appreciate y'all's patience as I try to figure out what it is I'm doing here. But all these are bangers. All these are great knives. All these I could recommend to a friend, to a family member, to somebody that I really care about, because I love each of these knives. My experience with them has been nothing but positive, continues to be very positive, and I love all these knives. They're just bangers to me. Again, I'm blessed. I've got a lot of good knives, but I've also got, you know, a knife addiction maybe. So guys, that was my top 10 in my drop points, and I love each and every one of them. Most importantly, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. I love you all. All I ever ask is if you would please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Please look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart. Choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.